Welcome, everyone. Hello. Welcome to this Best Starts for Kids Trauma-Informed and Restorative Practice Request for Proposal information session. I'm glad that everyone is on the line and here joining us this late afternoon. And my name is Yolanda McGee. I am the Program Manager for Best Starts for Kids Trauma-Informed and Restorative Practice. I will be your facilitator today. And Sarah J is going to also join. She's with our team, the evaluation team, and she's going to be joining me later during this presentation. We anticipate about being together for an hour today. And during this time, we're going to do an overview of Best Starts for Kids. We're going to give you the key elements to the request for proposal. And we're going to have a question and answer period. Just please note that your computers are on mute right now, and you're able to ask questions during the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, we will unmute you so you will be able to ask your questions. And also, you're going to have to unmute yourself so that we can hear you. So let's get started. Best Starts for Kids. Let's talk about the overall vision of Best Starts for Kids. We want to see more babies born healthy, more kids thrive, and more young people grow up to be happy, healthy, and successful adults. This is very straightforward but comprehensive strategy, and it's the work that we're doing here in King County. Best Starts for Kids our vision is equity and social justice. We have a lens for equity and social justice. In BSK, we're aligned with King County's vision, and that is to prioritize racial justice overall and the implementation of our equity and social justice ESJ strategy plan. We are intentionally leading with racial justice to confront the historical and racial inequities that continue to exist in our communities. Best Starts for Kids want to empower and impact those communities where it's most impacted. And by that, we mean we want to help dismantle it. So what do we do? Promotion, prevention, early intervention, and policy and system change. Promotion. We start early, even before the child is born, and go throughout their lifetime. And what it simply means is we're increasing the good and decreasing the bad and intervening when necessary and needed. Prevention, we want to provide the resources to increase relationships and opportunities for students and scholars. Early intervention, we want to give the resources that are needed to students. And for policy change, we want to provide change in policies where systems and people are able to prosper and thrive. Best Starts for Kids, we have a $65 million average per year that is invested in different strategy areas. And with the Trauma-Informed Restorative Practice strategy, we have $6.5 million for 3 years per year. And with our strategy, we're going to focus on K-12 through, and also we've included early learning as well as post-secondary education. We have developed a slogan to go along with our being trauma-informed. And that slogan is the power of belief. We believe that all children and young people can thrive in learning environments where students' culture and strengths are respected and nurtured. We believe that if we create environments that help students feel safe and respected, they will be able to engage in their learning. Our Best Starts for Kids, we had on our Best Start for Kids blog an article that was published. And the article was, if we could reinvent schools, what would we do? So there was young high school students that said that if every kid would have a sense of belonging and that if all staff believed in students all the time and cared about them all the time, then that would be an empowering environment. And so trauma-informed and restorative practice, we have taken the same approach as the students, a holistic approach. We want to see students believe in themselves and be able to know that their own abilities and self-worth. The schools, the districts, and the teachers, we want all teachers and staff to sincerely believe about all students and believe in their ability to succeed. We want to see community partners are providing community center solutions that help actively impact students' lives. And we also want to see that parents and families are respected and accepted as partners, parents as partners. We believe that school, parents, and communities working together can help we can help recognize that there's a genius in every class, that all students are geniuses. The trauma-informed restorative practice in school environments, there has been a great amount of work that has been done around being trauma-informed. And it's great work that has been going on in the districts as well as the community and the public health environment. And we want to expand that vision because in the environments that the work has been going on, we have been focused on the ACE, adverse child effect, has been the focus. And we know about chronic as well as toxic stresses and how it impacts students' health as well as the resilience that students have. And so what we want to do with this RFP is we want to expand the trauma focus on the racial trauma in education institution and how it negatively impacts students from experiencing success. We have to be able to talk about and recognize the impacts of trauma and the huge role it plays in the miseducation of our Black and brown students, and how racism contributes to inflicting trauma on students and families within the school education system. By intentionally leading with racial justice, we are taking on the root cause, addressing the impacts of racism in schools, which requires a paradigm shift away from focusing on the student's behavior to focusing on the environment and the impact that the environment is causing. Repair, restore, and heal. Healing relationships. To be a trauma-informed schools, we want to have culturally competent lens, culturally reflective educators, and culturally responsive programming and curriculum. Finally, we're asking that educators to reflect about their own practices and cultural assumptions and messages that are within them. When we think about interventions, rarely is revealing and treating the hidden wounds of racial trauma a focal point in interventions. The focus is more often focused on observing students' behavior, diagnosing, and sometimes clinical treatment. Here, we want to focus on the strength-based, have a strength-based focus when we think about being informed and have an racial equity lens questions in the back of our minds, such as, how can I strengthen my relationships with these students? What do they need and how can we provide what they need and want? And what are we doing to the students? And finally, what is right with them? As you apply, think about the work that you're doing and putting together your proposals, we want you to think about how your belief and your work aligns with the Best Start for Kids core principles, such as leading with racial justice, seeking collaborations and empowerment, focusing on the whole child, by ensuring that all students are understood and have their basic social, emotional, and academic needs met. Developing skills to promote healing. We want to build trust with students, parents, community partners, and community members. And finally, youth empowerment. We want to capitalize on the enormous potential students have for leadership and their abilities to provide positive change. In this innovative approach and implementation, we are asking you to, as the slides say there, be a team, work as a team. Schools are willing and are ready to partner with community organizations. 2, we want to see that racial equity is intentionally addressed to reduce disparities. And 3, we want the approach to emphasize the whole school strategy and focus supports, such as the small groups providing strength-based interventions to improve students' academics. And finally, we want to share leadership and shared learning opportunities amongst educators, teachers, communities, parents, and students in our community. Eligibility. This RFP is open, as you can see, to grassroots and community-based organizations, not-for-profit organizations, faith-based, schools and school districts, parent-led groups, early learning providers, post-secondary institutions, and partnerships and collaborations. We're also encouraging small nonprofits and community-based organizations are encouraged to submit proposals as lead applicants with school partnerships. Non-eligible is Best Start funding may not be eligible is basic education purposes, for basic education purposes, is the non-eligibility. As you develop your proposals, we will want you to think about these examples. Here are some examples. We have schools or the school districts or the community organizations, the lead applicant within the school, who have one or more partners working with the same school. We would ask that you submit only one application. We would like to have a letter of support is required for the community-based organizations from the schools and our school districts stating their intent to partner. We would like schools to have a letter of intent from staff, parents, and students, middle school if it's middle school students, high school if it's a high school. And we want those partnerships those letters of intent to get their signatures from parents, students who represent the intended population served. And if you become one of our partners, we during contracting time, we'll have you do a MOA. Community partners may be included in more than one proposal. And I'm going to show you a visual slide after this one. And number 3, collaboration, systems change, efforts working across sectors. This slide is a visual of an overview of the slide I just presented. So as you can see, we have the school there, and we have school, either the school or the community-based organization is the lead applicant. They're able to have partners within their proposal. We're asking that one application is submitted, collaboration work, collaborative work. And we're also able to, over here, have CBOs be as leads, and they're in several different schools, School A and School B. And where it says our community partners may be included in more than one proposal, that means that the CBO over here is leading, and they're in different schools, and that school is also able to be in the school. In the middle slide here, they're also able to be a partnering with the schools and doing work. So that's how they're able to be in more than one proposal. We're also doing collective system change effort work, and you're able to be the lead applicant, grassroots CBOs, non-for-profit, parent-led, and districts are able to do work that's cross-sector. That means that they're impacting more than one school throughout the King County or the district. Okay, so areas of investments available. Our funding is $6.5 million per year. Contract period is up to 3 years, and we're going to begin hitting the ground running September 1st, 2018 when school starts. Funding Request limit is $300,000 per year, and we're anticipating a number of awards between 20 and 30. Budget. We have included a budget in the attachments, and you're able to download that budget and complete it. You're asked to include evaluation costs of up to 10% and administrative costs not to exceed 12% of your total budget. And here's some other tips to, like I said, download the template, and it will calculate. There's a summary page that'll calculate all the different partnerships. It's a summary page. And also we're asking you to describe how the resources are shared amongst the partners. Our rating criteria. There is a rating criteria. Applicants will be assessed based on the rating criteria. The criteria includes 3 major components. We talked a lot about equity and racial justice earlier. Community partners and engagement is very important in this collaborative work, as well as the programs and activities and outcomes. So you can refer to the rating criteria in the proposal. Submissions required. Here's a page here where you can see that we're asking, the things we're asking of you, and that is the application must be submitted by April 9th at 2 p.m. We're asking for all attachments, attachment 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, signed cover letter, application, narrative up to 5 pages, and the budget template, as well as a community service agreement. There's a review and appeals process. Review. All eligible proposals will be reviewed and scored by a panel of community members, subject matter experts, and King County staff. And to appeal, any applicant wishing to appeal the decision has 4 days to do so. See the RFP for the full process. Here's our timeline. Again, the proposals and applications are due April 9th. We have, if you can see here, we've also added we will be adding an addendum on March 19th to post those relevant questions we've been getting at our information sessions. So we'll post those. And also we're going to also post a letter of intent, example letter, so you'll be able to access that as well. And please review the other dates that are here. Now at this time, we're going to present to you Ms. Sarah J., and she's going to talk about data and evaluation.
Thank you, Yolanda. I'm going to talk about two main things today. One, as you think about putting together a proposal for this RFP, how can you use data to tell your story for a successful proposal? And then secondly, just give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect around evaluation if you're funded. So we have 3 guiding principles on the Best Starts for Kids data and evaluation team that I like to start with, which are partnership, collaboration, and accessibility. And this is what we hope you'll see guiding our work together on data and evaluation. So when you put together your proposal, data is not the most important thing at all, but it is a tool that can help with the most important things, telling your story. And I always encourage everyone to think about those rating criteria that Yolanda mentioned. data, having it in there is not a rating criteria, but using data can be a way that you can help respond to some of those rating criteria about the success of your work in your community, the authenticity of your community partnerships, or the needs or strengths that you see in the communities that you serve. All of that is something that data can help you tell your story about. And there's a ton of data out there. I'll talk a little bit about some of King County's data today, but that's just a small piece of it. So I always encourage everyone to start by thinking about what's your story that you want to tell in your proposal, about your organization's, your partnership's strengths, your community's strengths. Then decide what information will help you make that story convincing, and then go out and see what you can find. So with that in mind, what do we mean when we say data? Numbers is something that often is the first thing to pop into a lot of folks' heads, and statistics, that's certainly a kind of data that can be really useful, but it's not the only kind. There's also maps, pictures, and stories, which you're welcome to submit as part of your proposal. We just definitely recommend, we really strongly ask that you keep in mind that if you are telling like a client or partner story, you're doing so in a way that's consistent with how they would like their story to be told and protecting confidentiality. But with those considerations in mind, very often telling a story or sharing a picture can be a really powerful way to show reviewers concretely what your work looks like, what your community is experiencing. So think creatively about what data counts. Best Starts for Kids doesn't just value the county's data, we don't just value numbers, but we value the data from the community as well in its many forms. Now for evaluation. It's a really important part of Best Starts for Kids so that we can show the members, the residents of King County, what we're doing with this public funding, and so that we know that we can lift up what's working well and see if we need to make changes at times too. So everybody that's funded through BSK is going to be participating in evaluation, which means reporting on certain performance measures, but you don't need to include that with your proposal. 5 pages is not a lot, and unless there's an idea you're really excited about that you want to mention, that's not something you need to worry about including. For partners that are awarded, we'll be working together with your Best Starts for Kids program manager and evaluation team and all of the funded partners to develop an evaluation plan and agree together on what performance measures you'll be reporting. You'll also note in the RFP in your application, there's an opportunity to select which indicators your program will impact. And I'll talk a little bit more about what those indicators mean. That's really a big picture thing, and we encourage you to think about which of those indicators will your program most specifically relate to. So you're not going to be scored based on how many you select, so just choose the ones that make the most sense to you. You don't have to try to pick as many as possible. Where possible, we will attempt to coordinate with other existing data collections, so we can talk a little bit more about that, but that can be things like existing school climate surveys. And then finally, we do ask that you build evaluation into your project budget up to about 10%. And the bulk of that typically is just staff time, because we know that gathering this data and reporting it back to us takes time, and we want to make sure that the time that you're spending on that is funded as part of this work together. So for districts and schools that are funded through this RFP, we have some more specific asks around data and evaluation, which is that we will be asking that you report performance data, including student level academic data to us, as well as climate and school culture data. So if you are already doing a school climate survey, that's amazing. We could be asking you to tweak or add questions so that we're getting consistent measures across all of the different partners. And if you are not doing the school climate survey, we will probably be asking you to start. And again, this is specific for the districts and schools that are funded in this RFP. Of course, once we have that data, then what do we do with it? We want to be working together to regularly looking at it, seeing what it's telling us to inform our ongoing work together. So that's, again, specific to districts and schools in this RFP. Again, so thinking about some data that's available to you, I want to mention some of King County's data, but I really want to emphasize that you're not required to use it. When you see it listed in the RFP or places like that, we don't put it there because we think you need to use it or because you're going to get reviewed more highly if you do. We put it there because we want there to be an equal access, that everybody knows that it's there if you decide that it could be helpful and want to check it out. We want everybody to know what's out there and what we're sharing with the community as far as our data goes. So keep that in mind. It's not something you need to dig through, but if you're excited about it, I hope that you will. Thinking again more broadly about what data sources, there's this Best Starts for Kids indicator data, there's program data from your work or your school, there's demographic data. It can come from anywhere. You also might have, national organizations focused on issues you're addressing that put out data. You can use any data that you think helps you tell your story, not just ours. I've mentioned a couple times these Best Starts for Kids indicators. These indicators are really the big picture population level data about family and child well-being in King County that we are looking at and hoping as an initiative King County can contribute to improving. It's not something that any individual program is held accountable for moving the needle on for all of King County, but it gives us that big picture of how we're doing and if hopefully we're getting better because of the combined work across the Best Starts for Kids initiative. So we've put together data for all of these indicators on our website, and you can see the link here. And we have disaggregated it, which means breaking it up so you can look at it in more different and specific ways as much as we can. So some is available by school district even, although for the most part not. Different parts of the county, different racial and ethnic groups, some have different socioeconomic statuses. All that's there because, you might not want to see just how all of King County is doing. You might want to be able to actually drill down to the communities that you're working with. So I know that it's not always easy to dig through and navigate that data, and I really encourage you to check out, we have a webinar if you want more resources around navigating that data or finding data to put in your application. And if you check out that webinar, we'll actually show you how to click through the images of the data, and it's linked, I know for sure, in the blog that announced this RFP, and we'll probably link it in this blog as well. So definitely check out that webinar, and then as we'll be discussing, there's technical assistance available to you and they can help with this as well. So on that note, I will hand it over again to Yolanda. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we have our technical assistance. We have free technical assistance that is available to support you in helping you put those proposals together, help you with the questions, guide you and help you with the questions and support you. So we want you to really take advantage of that service that's available. They are a part of our team and they're there to support you in writing your proposals. Additional resources. There will be 2 more information sessions after today's webinar. If you have any questions after today, you're able to email those to cpres-bsk@kingcounty.gov. Again, technical service assistance, please use that. And also, there is a glossary of terms in the back of the RFP. We ask that you take a look at that. They have very relevant definitions back there that will help walk you through our RFP. And please, we also ask that you go through the checklist to make sure that everything is included when you submit your application. Okay, so now it's time for you to be able to ask your questions. We're gonna unmute you, and if you have any questions, you're able to type them in or speak them out, and I will read the questions and answer your questions. So. Okay. To clarify submissions, should be 5 pages documents. Answer to all questions can be any length individually. And none of this is submitted via an online form. Yes, you have up to 5 pages to submit your narrative and answer the questions, and you're going to submit your applications through the email. Can you address the details needed for year 1, 2, and 3? The details needed. Well, we're with the review panel, we're going to select up to 20 to 30 is going to be awarded, and so the details, those who are going to be selected we will be doing contract negotiations with those, and that will be determined during that time. And it's up to 3 years. Yes, the grants are awarded up to 3 years, for 3 years. Is the overwhelming preference to work with school-age students? We're asking you to be innovative in your proposal. We're not putting any preferences to the age. This is for early learning all the way up to post-secondary education. Hello? Can you give an example of an ideal project? Thought we might get a question like that. Again, this is innovative work. We're asking you to really read through the RFP, look at the core principles that we're asking for, hoping that your work that you do aligns with those principles and you're able to present the work that you do in your proposal, and we will look at those proposals. What are the implementations for organizations who are funded in previous BSK opportunities, such as youth development or out of school time? In reading the RFP, there appears to be overlap of priorities and focus. Would love to hear your thoughts. Yes. Well, once again, the BSK has several strategies, as you mentioned, of investment areas, and ours is around the trauma-informed and restorative practice. There is that we will be possibly funding more than one education in other strategy areas, and so we will be working together on those examples that we're partnering with other BSK pots of investments. And so, yes, the work may look like it's overlapping because we are all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to empower students and families, and so, yes, this is the work that King County and Best Arts for Kids is doing. So we are doing this in collaboration as well. Do you have to work directly with school? If your organization mission is directed to support young people at specific schools, but without an explicit school or organization relationship, does this scenario qualify for applying? All applicants, if you're a CBO and you're doing work to impact students' lives, you are able to do a proposal without being a partner with schools. However, we're highly encouraging that you partner with schools, but it also, if you're able to show that the work that you're doing is impacting the culture and climate of the school, that would be, great to include in your proposals. And yes. Details needed in the proposal and the budget. Do we need to spell out what happens in each of the 3 years? We would like for you to give a rough estimate overview of what you think your budget would look like. And once again, we'll be looking at those budgets really and going through those to the award those who are awarded. So. Should we write the proposals describing the service population of the students in school served, focusing on year 1, or should we go into details about those same figures for year 2 and 3? Yes, we're asking that you, in your budget proposal, have that reflect year 1. And the population served, we're focusing through the presentation, we talked about the whole school environment. And so whole school environment focus, as well as those strength-based interventions that I talked about. We're working with a smaller number of student groups for strength-based interventions. Okay. You say 20 to 30 award, that means an average of over 200,000 K award. Are you planning to fund smaller awards like 20 to 50K? Yes, you may submit those proposals as well. We did an average with the 300,000 up to was how we came up with the 20 to 30 awards. But yes, you are able to submit lower proposal, a budget. Is King County Youth Detention Jail and appropriate schools to collaborate with interagency schools? Absolutely. You can collaborate with those. Okay. That seems like all of our questions at this time. We would like to thank you for your time. And again, we're having 2 more information sessions you're able to attend. Please feel welcome to do so. And also email any questions that you have to the email that's listed in the proposal. So at this time, I would like to thank you and say goodbye.